welcome back to StarrSoap's channel. How are you today? I'm doing good. In case you didn't know me, my name's MissCrystalStarr and I'm the Queen Soaper here at StarrSoap's channel. So thanks for watching. Today I'm not going to be making a soap, I'm going to be making a bath bomb. I'm going to technically be making Pokeballs. That's right, gotta bath them all. Gotta soap them all. Gotta catch them all. Well, I did. I caught a bunch of them and I'm going to be hiding them inside some beautiful bath bombs. Inside some beautiful bath bombs that look like Pokeballs. That's right. Half red, half white. Pokeball bath bombs. Squee! So come along with me and I'll show you how to make them. Okay, so first things first, we've got to make some bath bomb mix up. And we need some to be red. So I'm putting in some red lake dye. I love lake dye because it colours the water, but it doesn't colour you and it doesn't colour your washcloth or your towels. And it just goes straight down the drain. And on top of all of that, it's really fine for the water. So yay, go lake dyes. In my bowl here, I've got baking soda, citric acid, SLSA, a little bit of kaolin clay, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes I put colloidal oatmeal in, but not today, because I don't want any of my white to be coloured by the colloidal oatmeal, because I want half of my Pokeball to be very much white and half of it to be red. So now I'm going ahead and sifting all my powders together, and I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it to break through. Must have had a blockage. There we go. Now it's just going through nice and smooth. I recommend sifting out your powders whenever you are going to make bath bombs, simply because you don't want to have to work harder later trying to mix and get all of the lumps and break them out by hand. If you're using an electric mixer, this might not be such a big problem, like a KitchenAid. I'm not sure because I don't have one. But anyhow, I do it by hand and I find sifting it is the best way to go. I'm adding my fragrance oil in first, and then I'm adding in some sweet almond oil and some polysorbate 60. I mix it all and then I bring in my little whiskey tool and break up any sort of clumps that might have formed from adding the oils, and then it's time to go ahead and separate the batch. I'm just eyeballing this half and half, and what ends up happening is as I make the bath bombs, the red powders increase. You'll see what I mean later. Stay tuned. So it is a good idea to make up a little bit less of the red than there is of the white. I've learned that in hindsight. So as you can see here, I'm trying to get equal portions. But what I end up having to do is I end up running out of the white, and yeah, I don't want to give it away. You'll see. So I wasn't quite happy with the shade of red. It looked too pink. So I added a little bit more lake dye, and don't be discouraged if your powders do look pink. The bath water definitely comes out red. So now I'm spritzing very lightly with witch hazel and mixing the whole time as I spritz it with the witch hazel, because I want to achieve the damp sand consistency. These bath bombs are holding little plastic toys inside of them, so that mix has to be just right. There's no room for error here. If it's too dry or powdery, then they're just going to break. If it's too wet, then they're probably just going to mushroom. Just like whenever you make bath bombs, it is a fine balance, and it's sometimes tricky to achieve this. But don't give up, my friends. Please keep trying. So I put a little bit of bath bomb mix into the mold before I place my toy in, and I very gently press the toy down before I cover it up with more bath bomb mix. I overfill both halves of my mold and then press them together to create that round ball bath bomb. So this is why the red powders increase. Can you see why? There is always a little bit of powder left over after I press each bath bomb, and that ends up getting mixed back into the red, and therefore you end up with more red mix than white. So there you go. And here we have our first Pokeball, and I think it turned out really good. It of course is missing some finer details, but they will come later. Here I go adding those extra powders in like I just talked about, and then I must mix really thoroughly each time I do that because I don't want a speckled red look. I need it to have a nice bright coloured look. So another toy goes in and we're covering them up, and yes, I'm going to carry on like a little production line here and make a whole bunch of these beautiful Pokeballs. These ones are scented in black raspberry vanilla, and I've now run out of my black raspberry vanilla fragrance oil, so I went to go order some the other day, and wouldn't you know it, it's sold out. So I'll keep an eye on the website and the other website and the other website, and hopefully it'll come back into stock soon. I guess everybody just loves black raspberry vanilla. I know I do. So this concludes batch 1, and now we're on to batch 2. That's right, batch 1 sold out so fast I had to jump back on the Pokeball train and make some more within about a week of making the first lot. So I just put all of the footage together into the one video instead of making 2 Pokeball videos for you guys. This batch is not scented in black raspberry vanilla though, because I ran out. So this one is mostly scented in peaches and cream. It's topped off with notes of violets and a hint of cherry. It smells delicious. I love it. This time I'm mixing all of my mixture to the right consistency before separating it out, just to try a different method. I will end up adding a little bit more of my witch hazel, of course, before I go to mould, but this mix is pretty much ready to go when I separate it into the 2 bowls and I start mixing in my colour. Now this shade of red this time is much more vibrant. I really like it. It's a different number red lake dye. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think it's red 7 or something. But anyhow, I go ahead and I put in another groovy little poke toy and I make some more Pokeballs. And honestly, I was really surprised by how popular these have been. I'm going to probably have to keep on making them. Everyone I know wants one, and I've already sold them all again, and I need to make yet another batch. But wouldn't you know it, I've run out of the toys, so I had to order some more. I'm going to have to wait for them to arrive. I love how that red has turned out in this batch. It is so poppin'. It's cute. Oh, look at that little one. I have no idea about the names of these Pokemon, sorry guys. But yeah, I know they are definitely all Pokemon, and it is quite amazing to me just how many Pokemon there are. So your StarrSoap's tip this week is in regards to bath bombs, and it is if your bath bomb is not feeling like it's pressing together very well. And you can see what I'm doing right here. I just got a little bit more mix into my mould and repressed it. And I am pressing these all by hand so I can feel if it doesn't want to release. I can feel if there's a problem, and I usually like to overpack my mould. So in this case that was not what was happening. But you can see by just adding a little bit of extra and pressing it again, I end up with a perfect bath bomb. But this side doesn't want to release. You can see how I'm just feeling it, and I can feel it doesn't want to release, so I tap it again, and then finally it easily pops off. So that's what you're looking for. I really love how these look, and I really enjoy making sort of creative little things like bath bombs that have toys in, or bath bombs that have like a ring inside. I'm thinking that I'd like to make a whole bunch of bath bombs that have little tumbled crystals inside, like rose quartz and amethyst and stuff. So I'll definitely probably get onto that project maybe by 2019, early 2019. I would love to only scent them in essential oils and accompany them with a soap that is also only scented in essential oils. So for example, a rose soap and a rose bath bomb that has a rose quartz in it and all scented in rose essential oil. That would be a lovely little gift set, or a lovely little treat for somebody who likes rose. And then I could carry on in that same vein. I could do maybe citrus with, I don't know, tiger's eye, or even a piece of citrine. So keep an eye out for that. Here we are, and it's time for us to paint them. What I have done is, after pressing them initially, I have put them into my hot water cupboard to rest for about an hour or two, just to let them firm up a bit before I come back and paint them. Now I'm using black mica, which I have mixed in rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and a paintbrush, and I'm just painting it on. Now I don't particularly like this first one, looking back on it, but as I go along my technique improves. I find that the bath bombs that have a little bit of a ridge around the edge are quite good for this technique. A lot of people, when they make bath bombs, don't want that ridge around the edge, and they try not to get it, but for this particular project it makes it easier to paint that nice black line. So there's a little hint for you if you happen to be wanting to make Pokeballs. The other thing that I'm learning and realizing is that a Pokeball will always be white on the bottom and red on the top, so you don't want to rest it upside down like I had. You can sort of see dimples on the top of my red bombs. They should have been the part that was sitting upright, and the white should have been the part that was facing down. But this is all learning for me as well. I'm trying to get on board the Poke train, guys. I am. Toot toot. So I'm going to go ahead now and paint these up, and then we'll jump into the next footage where I paint the next lot. These ones are the black raspberry vanilla scented ones, and then the next lot are the peaches, violets, cherries and cream bath bombs. so much for hanging out with me today while I made some fun little Pokeball bath bombs, because I know I love doing it, and I hope you give it a go. And if you do, please come over and join our group on Facebook called StarrSoaps Family and show us pictures of your creations. I really love seeing them. They keep me inspired, and I hope I keep you inspired. Well, if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that subscribe button and become a member of our StarrSoaps family. We're getting really close to 6,000 subscribers, and when we hit that milestone, I'm going to do a giveaway. So if you want to be in with a chance to win, then don't forget to share the channel with your friends and family who like soaps and bath bombs too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!